At this time, we'll call to order the Board of County Commissioners meeting for the purpose of agenda review for next week's business session. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer?
Here.
Commissioner Allen?
Here.
Commissioner Clickham?
Here.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Here.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Here.
Commissioner Brown?
Here.
And Chairman Eilert.
Here. All are present. We do have a quorum. Would the clerk please read the proposed consent agenda items?
Item number 1, consider ratifying the chairman's appointment of Joe Davis to the Transportation Council through August 31, 2020. Item number 2, consider ratifying the chairman's reappointment of Leonard Nick to the Investment Review Group through December 31, 2019. Item number 3, consider ratifying the chairman's appointment of Chris Morrow to the Commission on Aging through August 31, 2020. Item number 4, consider appointing Susan Metzger as the 1st District Representative to the Housing and Community Development Advisory Committee through March 31, 2020. Item number 5, consider authorizing the transfer of $500,000 from the general fund to transit per the FY 2018 request for additional resources submitted to the Johnson County Board of County Commissioners on May 11, 2017. And item number 6, considering entering into an agreement with the City of Lawrence, Kansas for increased funding from the City of Lawrence for the operation of the K-10 Connector Transit Route in the amount of $135,000 in FY 2018 and $155,000 in FY 2019, and maintaining the annual funding from Lawrence at $155,000 through FY 2021.
Okay. Mr. Powers, you have any comments on the two items, number 5 and number 6?
No, sir. If there's, we discussed this at the study session on February 1st. I'm happy to answer any questions that any of the commissioners may have.
Chairman. Mr. House.
I don't have a problem with leaving this on consent. I'm fine with that. I would ask that we put something in there that after a 2-year period, we do some sort of ask to those businesses that are down there. There's 21 different businesses that route. I know that's just part of it, to ask them to chip in to, help fund that. There's 21 different businesses down there that are going to benefit from these routes, and I think.
You mean in the logistics area?
Yeah, and we'll do some sort of. I'm not sure how to write that in there, but.
Well, I think rather than being, I was, something discussion or something.
Yeah, I'm asking them. I don't think there's a way we can
putting
force them to do it, but
Yeah.
I just feel like if it's a benefit to those businesses, then they should have a little skin in the game.
All right. I think we can do that. Mr. Clicka.
Mr. Chairman, in follow-up to the study session yesterday, seriously take a look at midday connections to add credibility to this route. I'm going to state this and continue to harp on it, is that if we treat it strictly as a commuter in the morning and the afternoon, we're not giving the comfort level and the convenience level to our folks that may want to use this, who are working various shifts, but at the same time, midday, want to get home, however we look at it. Again, I refer back to the K-10 route. It was successful because it ran throughout the day. There was a comfort level. And it may mean that the headways may be extended out a little bit in order to get a more cross-section throughout the day. I'm okay with that, but if you would please focus in on that. The other thing is, on this route, this is a highway route. And there's another thing I've continued to be real concerned on, is using city buses on the highways for folks that are having to be on this route for more than a half hour. As we take a look at the assets that we move around and put on this route, we need to take a look at over-the-road coaches and whether or not we follow the same model we did when we created Lawrence, by maybe securing some used ones to start with until the funds are in place to do a replacement program. I think that'd be good, but it's going to add to the credibility of those wanting to take this route. This is going to be a job access route to a large extent. It's going to be feeding into the areas here. These folks are going to be on that bus a long time, and having a city bus bouncing and shaking around on a highway is not a very comfortable ride. So if you'll take a look at this, I think from a Southwest standpoint, I think what you're doing here is great. And I'm going to ask you one other thing. It was alluded to earlier by a gentleman there relative to the special edition or the paratransit service. That's been a concern of mine, that I don't believe we have a game plan, at least how we're accomplishing the flex service, which is basically to incorporate the special edition and all the paratransit services. I'd like to see for this commission have kind of a game plan of where we're going in timelines, how we're evolving that. And I'm not asking for that next week, but as we develop this, I think there's a lot of folks out in the community, especially in the Southwest and the Southeast, that are kind of wondering how they're going to be served. Thanks, Josh.
I think those are good comments, but they have to be considered within the confines of budgetary
I understand, but
allocations also.
I don't want this to, you know what, within the budget confines, we definitely want this to be successful. We don't want to put something up here that's doomed to fail, so.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Ashcraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I was just going to make comment that I wanted to thank Mr. Powers and members of the KC ATA that came last week at the study session. You did a very good job laying that out. I think it shows the intricacies of this system and the impact. But Mr. Chairman, I was going to suggest that since there was a study session and there have been several questions raised here, that without the context of that background, that we pull these from consent and have brief, not the expanded presentation, to kind of outline what we're talking about. There was a little blurb in the Star that I think did not do justice to what was discussed, and what Mr. Osterhaus pointed out, I think, is a valid point, and I think what Commissioner Klicka is raising. Without that background and that context, I'm not sure many people will understand what you're trying to suggest. So could we do that, and not a full presentation, but just kind of an outline of what the expectations are? Because the other part that we haven't mentioned, and I give kudos to the interim county manager, because she has been working on this with the City of Lawrence for a number of years, and that's maybe not the full game, but definite efforts. And I think particularly because we had a comment in public session about not working with Lawrence, or Lawrence not working with us, we should help educate ourselves and the public that there has been progress made.
Chairman.
Okay, well, if that's
Mr. Chairman.
that's an official request, these
Yes.
two items will go on, 5 and 6 will go on the
Mr. Chairman.
agenda.
I still have, I'd like to make a final note here on this also. As far as the K-10 route, I do have to give staff a substantial amount of credit, because I know this has been a bugging with the commission here as far as how we've been dealing with it. But I think you finally packaged it in a very favorable position that's showing the partnership, that it's not only Lawrence, it's not only Johnson County, it's the feds, the state, and that our percentage is probably very appropriate in this with this partnership. And I know it took a while and a lot of frustration to get to this point, but I think you hit it. I also would agree that I think to draw some attention to this, having this as action item would not be a bad idea either.
Okay. Mr. Allen.
Just have one comment, and I'm going to agree basically across the board with what was said. I think the key item is that we're doing a study, the overall transit system in Johnson County, what we're actually doing. And to me, the thing that should come out of that is the routes that we have, they need to be set up where they are successful.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
we need to make sure that we make those commitments if we have to scale back elsewhere. But if we're going to be involved in something, to do it correctly and be successful, to me, is a much better long-term game plan. And this job access is huge to the county.
So we have to define success.
Yeah. But anyway, I understand the budgetary concerns. We're not going to put any, in my opinion, probably in the short term, not putting more additional dollars, but the dollars that we're using to use wisely and to build those routes that we make commitments to, that they are successful, then you can build on those and do elsewhere. So to me, I think we're all headed in the right direction.
I think so, too.
It's just getting there, so.
Okay, so noted. Moving to the action agenda, there's one item, and that will stay on action because Mr. Klicka was absent from the January 25 meeting, and so those minutes will stay on the action agenda. Any other items?
No, sir.
Okay, I should note, we do not have an afternoon session, so
No executive session.
we are adjourned, no executive session. Have a nice afternoon and
you,
evening.
Chair.
Thank you all.
Thank you.